So, recently on August the 6th, there was a protest outside of Downing Street in London in which a group of obviously sane people got together for a protest. This was organised by someone called Laura Kate Dale, as they tweeted out. August 6th, 1 p.m, Downing Street, London, myself and various others organising a trans rights protest. Trans people and allies would love to see you there. They post all the information. And yeah, so this was the big thing that they kicked off with. We can get to the next one. We're told what they're protesting. And so they were protesting the failure of the UK Equalities Minister to safeguard minority groups, the importance of conversion therapy bans, not including exceptions. I'm sure there's not a lot of conversion therapy going on.
Well, this is weird because conversion therapy, as I understand it initially, was that if you were gay,
yeah,
and you, for instance, you were a member of a church, a Christian sort of church.
Sounds like an American thing, doesn't
it? Yeah. It was probably not a great idea to take your gay church member along to an exorcism and have them cast the gay out of them.
Fair.
Okay,
yeah.
so but now in this strange manipulation of words, conversion therapy means any attempt to try and persuade a child or an adult even that chopping off their willy or their breasts is a good idea. That perhaps therapy might be good. Perhaps talking about it, and trying to realign your thought life with your body life. But no, that is conversion therapy.
Seems transphobic to me.
Yeah. Chopping bits off.
Yeah.
And causing irreparable, irreversible damage to a human body. That's the norm. Trying to talk about it and trying to get people to come to terms, with their body.
With what they are.
That is conversion therapy. So there you go.
So that definition has been massively expanded. They're also protesting the current media backlash against the trans community, the unacceptable wait times for trans healthcare in the UK, and the UK government's constant platforming of anti-trans groups.
Yeah, right. So, okay, let's just talk about this backlash.
Yeah, go on.
What backlash? You can't open a newspaper without there being some celebration of trans this or trans that. There is no backlash. It exists purely in their imagination.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially not in the media. I guess that there are probably people on social media who are saying, well, look, I have questions about this. Those sort of people who have non-crime hate incidents to their name.
Yeah, but that's what happens, you see. When you can frame a question as hate, then you find hate everywhere. Now, get this. The College of Policing, their guidance on hate says that a reduction on hate crime is not an appropriate target. Hold on, come again.
What are they trying to do then?
Precisely, that's what it says, because it could be demotivating to staff. That's what it says in the College of Police guidance about hate, that the reduction of hate is not an appropriate target because it can demotivate your officers. So what is actually happening is the College of Policing is a national hate factory on behalf of every lunatic ideology under the sun, because of course they need to keep promoting this idea of hate and manufacturing hate in order to keep the police on side and in order to keep you and I suppressed.
And not only that, it's for their own careers, isn't it? If this isn't a deeply hateful country and there's hate everywhere, then why do they have a job?
Yeah,
exactly.
That's why they hated Lawrence, because Lawrence Fox says, we're the most tolerant country in the world. And we really are.
Yeah.
We really are. But they don't want to hear that. They don't want to know about the fact that we are, in fact, very, very tolerant. They don't even see the reduction of hate as a legitimate... So can you imagine if that was the murder guidance, the national murder guidance? Do not consider murder to be a legitimate... The reduction of murder to be a legitimate aim because it might demotivate staff. What are they on about?
It's absurd.
Yeah.
Absolutely absurd. Right, so they've got some demands for the government. They want transgender and non-binary healthcare to be overhauled and reformed. Obviously, this means give them more money. They say it is vital for transgender, non-binary and gender-diverse minors who are explicitly confirmed to have the right to Gillick competency, which means to access gender therapy and medical treatment without the requirement of parental consent.
Yeah, nothing scary there at all, is there?
Are you a parent?
I'm absolutely a parent. Yeah.
Do you think that parents should have some sort of influence over whether their children are castrated?
I think absolutely. I think it's not really a question, is it? That
Well, I didn't think it was, but you are on the first stage to genocide, so that just proves it.
yeah, damn it, done it again, done it again.
Well, no, I mean, yeah, obviously, like there's anyone who seeks to take away a parent's authority over their own children, I think is a deeply suspect person and is not operating in their best interests at all, especially when it comes to such unbelievably important things.
So
like
when I was between sort of the ages of 14 and 18, if this sort of nonsense had been around then, I would have absolutely lapped it up because it would have marked me out as special.
Exactly.
So what I did at the time, I just looked like a complete dick and experimenting with makeup and stupid hair and got over it. Yeah. Got over it. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
But no, now, back if this had been around then, I'd have probably chopped my dick off.
Well, I imagine that. Well, we know there are people who have done this. What was the young lady who got her breasts removed?
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
Recently, I can't remember her name off the top of my head. But she recently sued
she
exchanged.
Yeah.
Because this is crazy.
Yeah,
you can't be messing. And people don't seem to understand that children don't know what they want. They're not fully formed adults or anything. They're kids.
Of course, the whole thing is crazy. But what's interesting about this? Allies, they use the word allies. We want our allies to be outside Downing Street protesting for these things. Now then, the police join an ally program, the Stonewall Ally program. They talk about how they are allies, which means that they are part and parcel of this political protest. Well, how can you possibly be a police force and engage in political protest as an ally? How can you do that? There's also this thing called the Stonewall Champions program. Well, if you look at what the word champion means, it brings up, it brings up images of Heracles, for instance.
It's someone who's fighting for a cause.
Fighting for a cause, doing amazing mythical tasks, slaying the Hydra and all the rest of it. But why did they do that? Well, they did that because they'd killed their children in a fit of madness towards girlfriend or whatever. I can't remember.
Particularly in the case of Hercules.
Yeah. Particularly in the case of Hercules. Well, that's exactly what's happening here. The police have become champions and they are sacrificing children to mermaids. That's what they're doing because they support mermaids. They're advocating for mermaids. They're advocating for all of this nonsense. And furthermore, the EU police, of which the National LGBT Police Network is a part, are advocating for the criminalisation of any resistance within a school to this and any resistance in the private home to this. That's what our police are signed up to.
And I hate the term ally as well. Allies are what you have when you're fighting a war.
Well, they are fighting a war.
Well, that's the point, isn't it? Why are the police who are supposed to be politically neutral engaged in a war? It's not their job, not their responsibility. But they've got some absurd other requests. They want the Johnson government to commit to ensuring that transgender people have access to single-sex spaces. As in, if you're male, you should be guaranteed access to female spaces.
Yeah.
Which, again, as a misogynist, I disagree with. Obviously, that's a joke. I'm not a misogynist, but I do obviously think that women deserve their own spaces. Don't know why I have to say that. It's ridiculous.
But how many spaces are we going to end up with? Because apparently there are something like 365 genders and counting.
Well, that's the point.
Can you imagine the row of bogs that are going to have to be to satisfy every one of these genders? Can you direct me to the Nutoir toilets, please? Can you direct me to the Tetris gender toilet, please?
They also want to get rid of the Minister for Women and Equalities, Liz Truss.
Yeah, of course.
Because she said that women have vaginas.
Yeah, terrible.
She actually had to say that on the radio recently. And they're also annoyed that the UK government hasn't admitted that the UK is systemically racist yet. Because that's a transgender issue, apparently.
Oh yes, well, of course we have this thing. We have this spaghetti junction of
intersectionality.
Intersectionality, the spaghetti junction of oppression. And interesting, North Yorkshire Police have just held a conference, a national intersectionality conference, in which they hired a fellow called Dr. Robert Beckford, who charges I think £1,500 a day to teach the police about their white supremacy. So absolutely. Yeah. Clearly, no crime whatsoever in North Yorkshire.
I mean, that's clearly not just indoctrinating the police with racist woke ideology. We actually have a clip. Let's play the first clip. This is at the protest itself that was taken by Andy No.
Women are women. Trans women are women. Trans men are men.
Trans men are men.
Non-binary people are non-binary.
Non-binary people are non-binary.
Not at all like a cult, that is it?
I was literally about to say that. That's exactly not what I would expect from a cult. It's very moderate, reasonable, and doesn't give me really creepy vibes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this deeply concerning, and there was a bit of a hoo-ha about one participant. In fact, you can see them there, that was dressed in a baby costume.
Yeah. Well, I think this is what we call age play, isn't it, or something?
Yeah.
This is a man who identifies as a woman who identifies as a baby.
Can we get that first picture up so we can see that person? So yeah, you can see there. I mean, I've got an 8-month-old boy, and he doesn't wear pink; he wears blue, obviously. But that's definitely a baby grow and the sort of dungarees. And I can't help but notice that they have a badge that says "slut."
Yeah. It's well, dress as you want to dress, love who you want to love, as J.K. Rowling says.
Sure.
But I don't really think that we need to be having our police championing that. Do you?
No, and I'm sorry, but I refuse to just move past this and say, well, look, there's nothing wrong with this. No, there is definitely something wrong with this. I mean, this is an adult man who's dressed as a baby with the word "slut." No. Just no.
Yeah, absolutely. Because this is the weird, because you can look at that and go, that is terribly, terribly wrong. The way that slut is married to that costume and that, well, it's clearly a man. He looks actually like bust a blood vessel.
Yeah, he
behind
does.
the mask.
He does. No, okay.
Now then, perception only works one way. So they can perceive us as being hateful, but you cannot perceive that as being hateful or dangerous or in any way worrying. Well, you can, but the police will take no notice of it because you, Carl, I'm afraid, are not part of their...
I am a straight white male.
You are a straight white male, which means that you do not fit into any form of category whatsoever, only as a suspect, never, ever, ever as a victim or as someone whose perception should be taken seriously. Yeah. Now, us doing this podcast right now, if he were to listen to it, or she, or whatever it is, and you and I, absolutely 100% guaranteed non-crime hate incident against our name from Wiltshire.
Well, I'm sorry, but this just seems like a fetish to me. Like
it is, of course, it's a fetish.
I mean, if we can get to the next one, as you said, not the next image, next tweet, please. You posted this out, and if we can open up that image just so we can see the stickers they had, you can see the one next to their puppy player's age play, which I assume is what that guy was doing. And I mean, I don't actually know what age play is supposed to mean.
Well, I didn't, but apparently it's when a man who identifies as a woman, or possibly just a man, but then identifies further still as a baby. And then they have their Dom master or what have you do unspeakable things to them in their role as a baby. Okay, that apparently is age play. Now, the fact that kind of hints towards normalizing paedophilia,
yes,
I would consider to be quite worrying. And the fact that we have a Wiltshire police force car with a child's toy on it, knocking around
multiple child's toys, actually.
Yeah. Knocking around with this thing about age play and master slave pride and rubber pride and puppy pride. And there's another one on there. I think it's called what is it? Dungeon Master Pride, Ownership Pride. That's the one. Ownership Pride. Now, in a world where we've got real life
this
sex
is just
trafficking,
fetishes.
yeah, when we've got a problem with real life sex trafficking, where people are not their own because they got brought over here, they get trafficked over here, they have their passports and everything taken off them, and they are owned by their pimp. I think this is just absolutely disgusting.
It is vile.
I think we're getting very close to the point where insurrection is not only inevitable, I think it's entirely justifiable because our police force have given themselves up to political ideologues operating from the EU and operating, as far as I can tell, from the pit of hell. And I think the contract between the police and the public is over. So the next time I get pulled up, I'm just going to tell them to get stuffed.
Well, I mean, obviously, when we say resistance, we mean democratically, of course. We have to say that.
We have to say
we
that.
are
Okay.
we are definitely saying that.
What I said was we're getting to the point where...
Yeah. But I do think that the public should be engaged. And this is why, in fact, I've had you on to promote Fair Cop.
Yeah.
Because if people would like to support your efforts against this ideological infestation of the police, I think they should. But
the problem with this is, Carl, is it's so expensive. Who's got £250,000 lying around to challenge the police? Yeah. Who's got that? And when you have the judiciary captured, when you have the police captured, and when you have politicians pushed aside in favour of experts, what are we living in? So I am entirely for the rule of law, and that's why we call ourselves Fair Cop, because we believe in the police. I went down the judicial review route because I still believe in the judicial system. But it can't go on, Carl. It simply can't go on. There comes a breaking point.
No, I completely agree with you. And this is the sort of thing that they're putting into the minds of kids. If we can play the next clip, I found this hilarious. This is a 14-year-old person.
But if we focus on educating young people, you're still not tackling the root of the problem. People that grew up in an even worse time for minorities than it is now. So no, maybe it's not their fault. But we can at least stop them from spreading their views that they're obviously not ashamed of onto their children and the youth of today. On the face of it, maybe I can see why Bob's mum feels that way. In my new school, there are over 4 other trans people in my year, which is certainly a higher proportion than at that school I went to before. But the way I see it, it's not because more people are trans or it's a phase, it's because young people don't have to hide who they are like they used to.
Well, whenever a child says, "This isn't a phase, mum," that means it's a phase.
It's definitely a phase. Yeah, it's definitely a phase.
But this is what they're doing. They're turning children into moral legislators. I don't take lectures from 14-year-olds on anything.
Neither do I.
Weird that, isn't it? You know. So, but this is what they're doing. They're little child soldiers for their mission. But yeah, so this. And you can see here, if we can get this picture up, this is completely endorsed by the police. This is the Met Police. I don't know whether you can see on their breast there, they've got the racial pride flag.
Yeah.
So it's the pride flag with the black line on it to say that race is somehow a sexuality. And that's unacceptable. They may as well be wearing a swastika.
Exactly. It's this deeply intersectional thing, and I see that sex work has now got its own position on the intersectional flag by way of a red umbrella.
Oh, is that what that was?
Yeah.
I thought that was an anus.
No, well, it might well be.
I mean, I'm not judging. Nothing wrong with that. But
it's endless because they have to keep adding more and more and more to this spaghetti junction of oppression, and. That's absolutely fine. Let the lunatics loon. What worries me is when the police force adopt these symbols, because symbols have enormous power.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And take, for instance, the second you see somebody in a red hat that says MAGA on it, you know full well that they are a Trump supporter.
Yep.
Okay. The second you see a police force carrying that flag on them, you know damn well which side of the gender debate they are on.
And it is a political debate.
Deeply political.
Yeah.
And there's no amount of saying, oh, well, it's all to do with human rights. Sorry, but human rights which are not embedded and adopted in British law are contested. And therefore, by definition, they are political.
Correct.
But we have a problem. We have a problem, Carl.
Yeah,
in the 2003 Police Act changed the oath of attestation that every police officer makes.
Really?
So previously, the police force swore to uphold the law and to keep the Queen's peace.
Yeah.
Now they swear to uphold the law, keep the Queen's peace, and uphold human rights. Well, which human rights that aren't already adopted in British law are you seeking to uphold? And I think this is one of the sources of problem that we have, because the police say, well, it might not be the law, but it's human right, isn't it? No, it's not. It's a contested human right at the very most, in which case it's political. Oh my goodness.
Well, I would say don't even get me started on the concept of human rights, because it's a very deep conversation, and as you say, it's contested. Yeah. But this is another thing that the police were doing, apparently, posing with these fetish outfits.
Yeah. Well, these are literal dogs, obviously. They
identify as dogs.
Yeah, trans rubber dogs are dogs.
Definitely appropriate for children. Definitely not a weird fetish that should be kept behind closed doors.
There are sometimes there are pictures that just speak for themselves. I'm not going. I'm not even going to comment on it.
Yeah, no, it's gross. Right, so we're running out of time actually. So I think we'll have
You've got to play this.
Okay, go on. We'll play this last clip because I haven't seen this one. So let's watch. This is one Liverpool
Gender
Pride.
identity have marched in pride with pride for a number of years and will continue to do so in uniform representing Merseyside Police.
I pledge to increase inclusivity by challenging negativity in all its forms.
I pledge to continue to promote pronoun awareness, continue to ensure that Merseyside Police is a fantastic and inclusive place to work for everybody, no matter how you identify.
I pledge to bring about greater understanding of what it means to be intersex.
I pledge to encourage colleagues to use gender-neutral terms.
I pledge to enable everybody that attends occupational health to be themselves.
I pledge to continue to support the LGBT plus community within Merseyside.
I pledge to reduce hate crime across the whole of Merseyside and ensure our workplace is a caring and compassionate one for all my LGBTQ colleagues.
I pledge that I will work with our community, partners and the force to ensure that people feel that they can be themselves without fear of abuse, harassment and violence.
So, we can stop that there. What they're telling us is the Merseyside Police have been taken over by the woke cult.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a new religion.
Yeah. I mean, in there we have, I pledge to challenge pronoun use. So where, on what basis are they going to do that? But get this, I pledge to challenge all negativity in all its forms. So I guess that means that if you and I would say that the Beatles are a bit shit, that we can expect a knock on the door from the negativity police.
Well, they're acting like they're private citizens. Like they're just random activists who are on Twitter or at a protest something, but they're not. They're the police.
Not just the police. We had a chief constable and a deputy chief constable, 2, I think it was chief inspectors, all the way down to a PSO, and of course a nun who'd taken off from fervent intercession to join the police.
It's
as you do.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it's so clearly a foreign ideology that's taken control of these forces.
Yeah.
It's so obvious, and the fact that they're waving a flag. I mean, if it's not the British flag, what right do the police have to wave any flag?
Absolutely.
Going back to Peel-like principles, it's utterly inappropriate.
I've not seen a display of onanistic flagmanship like that since Pickett's charge at Gettysburg.
I mean,
seriously.
I mean, if I was making videos like that, waving the English flag or something like that, they'd be like, "Oh my God, he's a gammon, he's a racist, he's this,
white
that, and the
supremacist." You would put people in fear of their lives. Well, I watched that, and I am in fear of going to Merseyside because whilst I may be able to walk down Penny Lane without being misgendered, fantastically,
brilliant,
okie dokie. Well, I'm speechless. We had a report out last week that says that only 7% of violent crimes end up in any form of prosecution.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, Meanwhile, in North Yorkshire, intersectionality.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, National LGBT Police Network saying we stand for Stonewall, not with Stonewall, not supporting the aims of Stonewall. We stand for Stonewall.
So a political activist organisation they're pledging allegiance to.
Yeah, well, again, in North Yorkshire Police, we caught North Yorkshire Police giving private pledges to, I think it was Stonewall. We wrote to North Yorkshire Police and said, can we have the name of the officers, please, and what the pledge was? And they said, no, there wasn't any pledges. I said, well, if you're going to lie about it, don't put it on their social media.
Yeah.
Because here's the screenshot of them taking their pledges. Well, we don't know what the pledges are. Why not? Well, we've lost them. Okie dokie. Well, who are the officers? We don't know who they are.
This?
It's right there. I've sent you a photograph of the officers. They're senior officers. It says it right there. No, go away. We're not going to talk to you anymore. That's literally what they said. They said, go away. We're not going to engage with you anymore.
I mean, if this was like any other religion, like Islam or something like that, this would be mad. If they were flying like the black flag of the caliphate and things like that, saying, I pledge to, whatever they want. And it's like, this would be mad. And it's exactly the same thing.
It's exactly the same thing.
If you enjoyed this segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can watch the full broadcast live every weekday at 1 p.m. UK time on lotuseaters.com.